Now that we've determined that our patient has been properly consented and is eligible, we're ready to move on to the randomization assignment. Note that if the patient had not been consented properly or was deemed ineligible, we would not move on to the randomization assignment, nor would we complete any of the other forms. However, the participant would still have an ID number. You might be wondering why the participant ID number is 3, even though for the rest of the tutorials we've been working with participant ID 1. That's because I moved ahead, but just imagine that it's participant ID 1. All we have to do to randomize is hit the green randomize button. Then hit randomize again. Our participant ID 3 has been randomized to methotrexate only. However, let's imagine that our participant was randomized into the uterine evacuation arm. Since she actually was randomized into methotrexate only, the boxes that pop up tell us to complete the history form listed under methotrexate only, ask us when the patient's next visit was, which must be within 3 days of randomization, and tell us to complete the methotrexate dose 1 form at the time of that visit. If our patient had been randomized to uterine evacuation, it would tell us to complete the history form listed under uterine evacuation in the events list. They would still ask us when the patient's next visit is, and it still must be within 3 days of randomization, and they would tell us to complete the uterine evacuation form at the time of the visit. One other thing to keep in mind is that a copy of the assignment explanation must be given to the patient. Now we'll move on to the uterine evacuation arm, because we're assuming that our patient had been randomized into uterine evacuation.